This is why I love conservatives, obviously. Because like clockwork, now we have a new deep state conspiracy called Operation Arctic Frost to be aired on Fox News for the next 6 months to people who have not endeavored to do the slightest bit of research into Jack Smith or the crimes of Donald Trump or really any element of our society. But here's Chuck Grassley.
Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump. It was the vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and Department of Justice prosecutors could achieve their partisan ends and improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus.
There's Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley revealing more about the Biden-era FBI investigation into President Trump and Republicans, supporters of President Trump. There are new documents now from so-called Operation Arctic Frost. They show numerous Republican organizations and individuals who were targeted with subpoenas, including the late Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. Joining me now is Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall. AG, thanks so much for being.
All right, so Arctic Frost was the thing that the FBI did before handing it over to Jack Smith to prosecute Donald Trump. They investigated the entire Republican apparatus. Why? Maybe because there were obscene crimes committed by the highest levels of the Republican apparatus in the 2020 election, and none of those investigations into TPUSA in particular were ever used. Right? There was cause for an investigation because we had to know every detail of how this was coordinated. Right? I'm not going to go specifically into the crimes of January 6th here, but that's what Arctic Frost was supposed to do. Supposed to look at the whole apparatus and see who participated in the wrongdoing, because so many people got convicted due to crimes of January 6th, right? Seditionists, the false electors in many states got convicted of forgery, right? There was going to be litigation for Donald Trump and his co-conspirators, but that has been mostly thrown out since he won the election. But here we go. Hopefully he'll get into more detail here and how exactly this is a deep state operation and what ends did it even accomplish. There was a lot of dead ends in this investigation, actually. They investigated Republican organizations that could have possibly been contributing knowingly to the criminal enterprise here. But a lot of those investigations turned up nothing, right? So what political ends did this accomplish exactly? I don't know.
Here. This is unbelievable, particularly now to see all of this as the Democrats are losing their minds over the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel's show. How quickly we forget what was just done to Republicans. You were the chairman of the Republican Attorneys General Association at the time, and you say you watched it and experienced it firsthand.
No, absolutely, and disappointing but not surprising, Maria. When you look, Joe Biden learned at the feet of Barack Obama, who weaponized the IRS to come after conservatives, conservative groups, and religious organizations. And then even during the initial period of COVID, where the FBI, rather than using their mission of attacking violent crime, instead were going after parents showing up at school board meetings, looking after the Catholic Church and investigating their activities. You know, highly disappointing in 2022 when violent crime was on its apex in this country, that rather than attacking that problem that affected public safety, they're looking at Republican attorneys general like me, Republican governors across our country, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point, other supporters of President Trump. We shouldn't be surprised, but yet really proud of Senator Grassley and Judiciary for exposing this fraud to the American people.
Right? They weren't specifically looking to indict TPUSA or Charlie Kirk. They were looking for potential context that could maybe help the upcoming special counsel Jack Smith make a better argument. Right? And Jack Smith has probably a lot of, I mean, it's still classified, but a lot of arguments and evidence in there that comes from what the FBI uncovered here. And this guy is just complaining about subpoenas, right? The DOJ is tasked by Congress to go to any means necessary to investigate crimes against the United States government. That is a very widely encompassed statute, right? And show me the damages here. The FBI, what are you talking about? They were going after parents who went to school board meetings? That's not true. None of that's true. They weren't investigating crime. Of course they were. Like, you can't show any. There's no receipts here. Everything is. This is what Fox News is. Everything is hearsay. It's just people, talking.
Expose the fraud, AG, but where's the accountability? I mean, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Continue to see no consequences for anybody, any of these political dirty tricks over and over again?
Yeah, I think what we're going to see is a very active Senate Judiciary Committee diving in to the cause and the root of what was going on. You've seen Kash Patel be able to attack the FBI in a way to be able to rid it of those partisan agents who weren't doing their job. And look, the American voters took the opportunity to give President Trump a mandate to be able to reshape our government, and he's doing exactly that.
Meanwhile,
This is such vague garbage. The people that Kash Patel fired were fired for their ideology, not for anything they did wrong procedurally. That's why they're contesting it in court, right? There are people who dissented from Trump's narrative. They were asking people what they thought of the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago as interview questions for the FBI. That's how crazy. That's how crazy this is. And what is she talking about with fraud? Who's being frauded here? Right? The fraud is the thing being investigated by the investigation that you call a fraud. And people have said that, oh, the FBI is just politically motivated. Whatever. Yeah, the FBI is probably leans Democrat because they have a few brain cells in their head. But there was this guy called John Durham. You might have heard of him. He had the Durham Report. It investigated that exact thing for a similar situation where Republicans said the exact same thing, that the FBI was biased, that he found nothing. Everything resulted in acquittals, right? No charges except one guy got a few months of probation because he altered an email to clarify it in a way that he thought was helpful, and they couldn't even find intent for that, right? This is how all these Republican conspiracies turn up. Like the Biden crime family stuff never sees the light of day in court. Why? Because it's so stupid beyond belief that like no one can even imagine a world in which it has any credibility. Like, nevertheless, in a courtroom, right? The stuff that Republicans do is actually very prosecutable. But for Trump winning the election, he would probably be in jail for the rest of his life. I have no doubt about that. I mean, the Jack Smith report was very specific. It didn't have much new in it, but it compiled the information that we already knew in a very understandable way, and how the statutes can actually work to get a conviction on this guy.